The scavengers called it the corpse ship. It drifted in the dead zone between the Cerberus Rift and the dying star of Nixus 3, its obsidian hull swallowing the faint starlight. No transponder, no energy signatures, just silence. Captain Vale, the Kethri Marauder, adjusted his ocular implants, zooming in on the derelict's jagged silhouette. "Human design," he muttered, mandibles clicking in distaste. "Pre-collapse war relic. Probably picked clean centuries ago." His first mate, Zara, flicked a claw toward the scans. "Then why's our system screaming about something alive in there?" The readouts pulse erratic, nonsensical, flickers of movement where none should exist. Vale hissed, "Board it. But if this is a trap, shoot first." The scavenger team breached the airlock with practiced ease, mag boots clamping to the frozen deck. Their helmet lamps cut through the darkness, revealing corridors scarred by particle burns and old blood. No bodies, just a lingering stench of ionized metal and something fouler, like ozone over rotting flesh. Zara's tail lashed. The ship fought. Look at the blast patterns. Someone held this hallway until the walls melted. A noise echoed, a scrape of metal. The scavengers spun, rifles raised. Nothing moved. Then the lights flickered on, not the dull emergency strips. The full rays, flooding the hallway in cold, sterile white. A voice crackled through dead comms, human accent and hollow. Unauthorized presence detected. Vale's finger tightened on the trigger. "Who's there?" Silence. Then footsteps. Slow, deliberate. From the shadows at the end of the hall, a figure emerged. Human, or almost. Its skin was pallid, stretched too tight over sharp bones, eyes glassy and unblinking. It wore a tattered naval officer's coat, the insignia of the old Terran defense fleet still visible. Zara recoiled. "That's Lieutenant Elias Kane," the thing said, lips peeling back from gray teeth. "Serial designation, Echo 7. Welcome to the Obsidian." Vale's rifle didn't waver. "You're dead. The Dominion wiped out your kind 50 cycles ago." The lieutenant's head tilted, a grotesque parody of curiosity. "Did they?" Behind him, the ship's systems hummed to life. Screens flashing with tactical readouts, weapons charging. "Funny, we remember it differently." A proximity alarm shrieked in Vale's helmet. The Marauder-esque panic comms burst through. "Asterisk Captain. Dominion Patrol just jumped in. They're hailing us as hostiles." Asterisk. Kane smiled. "Ah, right on time." The Obsidian's engines roared. Gravity plates slammed the scavengers to the deck as the ship lurched, not away from the Dominion, toward them. Vale's last glimpse before the world dissolved into chaos was Kane's face, frozen in something between a grin and a scream, as the black ship went to war. The Kethri Marauder-esque hull groaned as the Obsidian dragged it into the storm. Vale clawed at the deck, his exosuit stabilizers whining against the artificial gravity. Through the viewport, the Dominion patrol ships, 3 sleek Dagger-class interceptors, banked hard, their plasma cannons flaring to life. A warning transmission crackled across all frequencies. Asterisk, surrender the derelict or be erased. Asterisk, Lieutenant Kane didn't react. He stood perfectly still, his fingers dancing over a holographic console that hadn't existed a second before. Battery status? A new voice answered, mechanical, toneless. Primary railguns at 87%. Void torpedoes loaded. Zara's frill flared. "Who the hell is that?" Kane's glassy eyes flicked toward her. The ship. The Obsidian fired first. A railgun round punched through the lead Dominion interceptor, like paper, detonating its core in a bloom of blue-white fury. The remaining 2 scattered, but the black ship moved faster, unnaturally fast, as if space itself bent around it. Vale's stomach lurched. This isn't possible. No human ship ever pulled maneuvers like... "We're not just a ship," asterisk Kane interrupted. The shadows around him deepened, revealing others, dozens of gaunt figures in tattered uniforms, their faces hollow, their hands fused with the Obsidian-esque systems. Were the ones they couldn't kill. Zara's rifle clattered to the deck. "You're dead." "I'm looking at your life sign scans right now. No pulse, no brain activity, just void." One of the figures, a woman with a half-melted face, laughed. Clever girl. The Obsidian's AI voice cut in. Dominion reinforcements inbound. Estimated arrival, 6 minutes. Kane turned to Vale. You're scavengers, which means you know things. Where's the Dominion keeping their prisoners? Vale's mandibles clenched. Why? Because we're going to burn their cages down. A proximity alert screamed. The last 2 interceptors had regrouped, launching a full spread of seeker drones. The Obsidian S-point defense gun swiveled, but too slow. A drone slipped through, slamming into the aft shields. The impact sent Zara crashing into a bulkhead, her visor cracking. Kane didn't flinch. Void born. Execute protocol echo. The lights died. For 3 heartbeats, there was only silence. Then the Obsidian screamed. Not a siren. Not an alarm. A human scream. 1,000 voices layered into one, raw with rage and grief. The sound pulsed through the ship, through Vale's bones, as the Obsidian S-hull rippled like liquid shadow. The remaining drones imploded, their circuits frying mid-flight. The Dominion ships froze. Then they ran. Zara gasped, clutching her bleeding temple. Were you? Kane watched the fleeing ships on the view screen, his reflection fractured in the glass. The answer to a question they forgot they asked. The Obsidian S engines flared, its course already locked. Toward Dominion space. Toward war. The jump tore reality apart. Vale's vision blurred as the Obsidian ripped through the void, its engines howling like a dying beast. The scavengers had seen warp travel before, but this was different. This was wrong. The ship didn't move through space. It gnawed through it, leaving a wound in its wake. Zara clutched her cracked helmet, her frills slick with blood. Where are they taking us? Vale didn't answer. The Dominion prison complex materialized on the view screen. Asterisk core, 9 asterisk, a skeletal station orbiting a dead moon. Its defenses were already powering up. Lieutenant Kane stood motionless at the helm, his fingers fused with the ship's controls. Voidborn, open the archives. The Obsidian SAI responded, its voice colder now, accessing prisoner logs. Human signatures detected, 247. A hologram flickered to life, a list of names, dates, and faded photographs. Some were children. Zara's breath hitched. You're here for them? Kane's jaw tightened. We're here for what comes after. The station's comms exploded with panic chatter. Asterisk, unidentified vessel. Stand down. This is a class for detention. Asterisk. The Obsidian fired. Not at the guns. Not at the shields. At the docks. The railgun round atomized the primary airlock, shredding the station's umbilical links. Escape pods jettisoned in blind terror, but the black ship ignored them. It pressed forward, its hull scraping against the station's spine like a knife against bone. Vale's exosuit registered the radiation spike too late. They're overloading the core. They'd rather blow the hole. Let them. The Obsidian-esque hull rippled again. The scream returned. The 1,000 voices, howling in unison, and for a single gut-churning moment, Vale saw them. Ghostly hands pressed against the ship's interior, mouths open in silent agony, eyes burning with the same unnatural light as Kane's. Then the station exploded. The blast should have vaporized them. Instead, the Obsidian absorbed it, the firestorm curling into its blackened hull like water into a drain. The shock wave shattered nearby satellites, but the ship itself remained untouched, floating in the eye of its own destruction. Silence, then movement. From the wreckage, a single escape pod tumbled, its thrusters dead. The Obsidian S-tractor beam seized it, hauling it into the hangar. Vale expected survivors. He wasn't ready for the children. 23 of them, gaunt and wide-eyed, their skin tinged gray from years of recycled air. The oldest couldn't have been more than 14. They shrank back as Kane approached, but he didn't speak. He just knelt, his skeletal fingers hovering over the youngest's forehead. A hologram flickered between them. A woman's face, smiling. The child gasped. Asterisk, Mama. Asterisk. Kane's voice was barely a whisper. She's waiting for you. Zara turned away, her fists clenched. This whole attack just to save them? No. Kane stood, the light in his eyes dimming, to remind the Dominion that humanity doesn't need bodies to fight. The obsidian SCOMs crackled. A new voice, deep and dripping with venom, filled the chamber. Asterisk, this is high-legged Dravik of the Dominion Armada. You have just declared war on an empire. Asterisk, Kane didn't blink. We know. The transmission continued. Asterisk, surrender the derelict, and the prisoners will be granted mercy. Asterisk, a murmur ran through the children. One, a boy with a scarred cheek, stepped forward. Don't. Kane looked at him. You're not afraid? The boy bared his teeth. They should be. For the first time, something like warmth flickered in Kane's dead eyes. Void born. Initiate final sequence. The Obsidian SAI responded instantly. All systems engaged. Awaiting designation. Kane turned to Vale. You have a choice, scavenger. Take the children and run. Or stay. And watch what happens when the dead remember how to kill. Outside, the stars went dark. Not from the explosion. From the fleet. Dozens of Dominion warships blinked into existence, their weapons locking onto the Obsidian. The black ship didn't move. It waited. The Dominion fleet filled the void like a swarm of steel locusts, their weapon ports glowing crimson in the dark. Vale's mandibles clenched as tactical readouts scrolled across the Obsidian's fractured displays. Capital ships, drone carriers, a dreadnought at the heart of the formation. Enough firepower to glass a planet. Zara grabbed his arm, her claws digging into his exosuit. We can't fight that. Lieutenant Kane didn't turn from the view screen. We already are. The first salvo came without warning. Plasma lances sliced through the black, converging on the Obsidian in a lethal web. The black ship didn't dodge. It flexed, its hull warping like living shadow, the energy dissipating across its surface in rippling waves. The Dominion's barrage should have vaporized it. Instead, the ship absorbed the attack, its dark plating shimmering with stolen power. Vale's breath caught. It's feeding off them. Not just them. Kane's voice was distant, his pupils dilating into black pools. Every shot they fired at us. Every ship they've ever destroyed. We remember it all. The Obsidian struck back. Its railgun screamed, rounds punching through shields like they weren't there. A Dominion cruiser cracked open, spilling atmosphere and bodies into the vacuum. Then another, and another. The black ship moved with predatory grace, slipping between salvos as if the battle were scripted had rehearsed 1,000 times. But the dreadnought remained. It loomed at the fleet's heart, its spinal-mounted cannon charging. A weapon designed to crack worlds. Zara's frill flattened. They're lining up a kill shot. Kane didn't react. Void born. Status. The AI's reply was glacial. Echo protocols at 63%. Insufficient for full engagement. One of the spectral crewmen, a woman with a cauterized stump where her arm should be, stepped forward. Then we go louder. Kane hesitated. For the first time, something like pain flickered across his face. It'll burn the last of us out. The woman bared her teeth. We've been dead for 50 years. Elias, let's make it count. Silence. Then Kane nodded. The Obsidian-esque scream returned, but this time it wasn't just sound. It was force. The ship's hull split open, tendrils of darkness lashing outward, snaking toward the wreckage of the fallen Dominion vessels. Metal groaned as the debris was pulled in, absorbed, assimilated. The black ship grew, not in size but in presence, its shadow stretching across the stars. The dreadnought fired. The world turned white. Vale's vision blurred, his exosuit screaming at him about radiation levels that should have killed him instantly. But when the light faded, the Obsidian still stood, its hull scorched, its edges fraying, but whole. And moving. It crossed the distance in a single, impossible lunge, driving itself into the dreadnought's belly like a knife. The impact sent shockwaves through both vessels, but the Obsidian didn't stop. It melted, its blackened plating flowing into the dreadnought's corridors, its systems, its bones. Alarms wailed across the Dominion fleet. Then silence. The dreadnought's engines died, its guns powered down. For 3 heartbeats, nothing moved. Then the dreadnought's comms crackled to life, and Kane's voice spilled out, not from the Obsidian, but from every Dominion ship in the fleet. "This is Lieutenant Elias Kane of the Terran Defense Fleet." A pause. "You are not welcome here." One by one, the Dominion ships turned, their weapons cycling to target each other. Zara staggered back. "They're hacking the fleet." "No." Kane's form flickered, his edges dissolving into static. "We're reminding them what happens when you try to bury us." The dreadnought's core went critical. The explosion tore through the fleet like a scythe, ships burning in its wake. The Obsidian emerged from the firestorm unscathed, its hull drinking the light once more. But Kane was fading. His body flickered, his edges unraveling into strands of dark code. The other specters followed suit, their forms dissipating like smoke. Vale stepped forward. "You're dying." Again. Kane smiled. "We were never alive to begin with." The Obsidian's AI spoke softly. "Directive complete. All enemy assets neutralized." Silence settled over the bridge. The children huddled together, their eyes wide but dry. The boy with the scarred cheek stepped forward. "What now?" Kane looked at him, then at Vale. "Now," he said, "you choose." The Obsidian S systems hummed, waiting. Outside, the stars burned cold and bright.